everyone. I am Erin Otan, Director of Research Programs at Zpryme, and I'm joined today by Juan Andrade, who is the Strategic and Chief Financial Officer of the Solar and Energy Loan Fund, also known as SELF, which is an organization based in Florida. Thank you for joining me today, Juan.
Thank you for having me, Erin. It's a pleasure to be with you. I follow you guys and your posts and your interesting media, things that you do. So it's a privilege to be here.
Thank you. So can you just give us a short overview about SELF?
Sure. So the Solar and Energy Loan Fund is a certified community development finance institution, otherwise known as a CDFI. We're also a 501c3 nonprofit. Basically, what makes us different than any other financial institution is that we are mission driven. So, in other words, we are a financing entity that is formed to provide services to low and moderate income populations. Per the CDFI certification, we have to do a minimum of 60% of our lending in low and moderate income census tracts. That being said, we are also one of the only CDFIs in the nation that actually focuses on doing lending for energy efficiency, clean energy, and water quality and climate resilience. And it's normal for CDFIs to be serving low and moderate income populations, but typically they're going to do it through large affordable housing projects and community development projects or SBA loans. One of the innovations that we have had has been to take the CDFI model that was typically for those activities and actually use it to do basically microloans for home improvements that encompass clean energy, energy efficiency, and climate resilience. So that is who we are as an entity. And what our target market is, like I said, a residential single family homeowners for now. However, last year we got a pro neighborhood grant from JP Morgan Chase. It was a $5 million grant so that we would actually expand our activities into affordable housing. So we're working in a collaborative with other nonprofit land trusts to develop about 300 units that are green, energy efficient, affordable housing units for rental and ownership as well. So in a nutshell, that I think is what we do.
Great. And so how have you all been affected, since March with the onset of COVID-19?
Yeah, it's a great question. Early March, when we all were, mandated to stay at home, we immediately shifted into this remote lending mode, and we thought that things were going to slow down considerably. However, it was quite the opposite. We have had 3 months of record-breaking lending activity. We have tripled our lending from the same period last year. In the last 3 months, we've closed about $1.7 million in projects, and that's over 200 loans, which is a lot for us. We're a relatively small organization. If I can, we're 15 employees and we're statewide. I did want to mention that we are statewide. So for a small organization, it's a lot of loans. Our average size loan is about $8,500.
So you guys are a financial institution, a bank, but you do have the ability to be pretty innovative. And you were telling me about a project before we started recording that I wanted to ask you about for our audience here. So I know you have a pretty innovative water quality project that you've been working with a local government on. Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Sure. Yeah, so just again, broadly speaking, we do sustainable home improvements. We'll finance sustainable home improvements, energy efficiency, ACs, roofs, hurricane shutters, um, uh, disability, by the way, that's a new program we have because of our clients. So home adaptations for aging in place and disability, everything that's structural. Um, Water quality is something that obviously has to do with the environment and environmental justice and also social justice because people need to be able to access water, have water quality, right? So we have been looking at this issue of septic tanks in Florida for a long time because it's a problem. It's a problem waiting to happen, or it's a problem already happening where old septic tanks are leaking into shallow watersheds. Um, Also, it's just from a sanitary perspective, you know, health perspective, it's just not the greatest option if you can have sewer. And we're in 2020, almost 2021, we should have sewer services in cities, right? At least not, I mean, not the rural areas, but at least urban centers. So water quality has been part of our mission, and Martin County um, has great leadership, and they're very concerned with water quality issues. And they wanted to figure out a way in which they could get people to switch to sewer services if they paid and installed the infrastructure, you know, to connect to. So they were able to build out infrastructure with some grants and some funds, federal funds maybe, and a combination thereof. But once they built out the infrastructure, now the big challenge was how do you get people to connect? Because a connection to the sewer system is about $10,000 a pop. And they had a little bit of money of a grant, and they were going to use that grant, about $200,000, to help people, you know, 20 families hook up to the system with $10,000 a pot. But then that was very short-sighted because they have about 400 families that they want to connect along that infrastructure that they built out. So we see ourselves as an implementation tool for local governments to be able to achieve their sustainability goals, environmental goals. So we were already working in their community, and what we did is we said, why don't you use the grant funds to subsidize or to buy down a loan, and we'll give out a long-term payment plan that's affordable and accessible with on-bill payments. So basically what we did is we took their initial grant, or leveraging it 7 times and bringing in, you know, over $1 million to be able to do, instead of 20 projects, 200 projects in the first phase. And what we're going to do as the lender is we're going to do an $85 fixed payment plan for 10 years that will be collected by the utilities on bill payment. But there, I mean, that is optional. You know, if people want to have it on bill, that's fine. But if not, they can go through a regular program and just get a regular loan. But the beauty of this is that it really sets, it's a pilot that hasn't been done in Florida, and it sets like a model that can be replicated and over in other jurisdictions. And it solves a lot of problems, and it really raises the quality of services and water for the community. So we're going to be rolling that out in this month, hopefully. We've been working on it for quite some time, but that's what we can do as a nonprofit lending organizations. We have the ability to bring capital to communities that are underserved, because the type of capital that we tap into is not profit-driven capital. It's impact and socially responsible capital. But we can get to that a little bit later. But I'd love to share with you. I think you'll be surprised of who our funders are.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, sure. I love this part because this is, you know, this is like what I do mainly. But so we have 23 investors, right? 13 of those are faith-based organizations led by nuns. We would not be here today if in 2013 the nuns hadn't stepped in and invested in us. So once Self was started with a grant from the American Recovery Act enacted by President Obama back in 2009, right at this, you know, similar situation, crisis. And so this organization was started with a grant from the Department of Energy through that ARA grant. stimulus package. And it had a 3-year term. In 2013, we were hitting that 3-year term. I coincidentally was starting at that time, and I come from a micro lending background. So I'm very used to working with scarce resources and having to improvise and do whatever it takes, right? At that time, the nuns had already checked this out because they very much understand the connection between energy and social justice. And the Pope had put out his encyclical about social justice, environmental justice, and taking care of the planet. So they were looking to invest and divest from Wall Street, divest from fossil fuels, and invest in clean energy. So we had one investment from Mercy Partnership Fund for $200,000. And that was it. And then we were running out of the grant, which was a $1.6 million revolving loan fund. And since then, we connected with other faith-based organizations, and they kind of were like, well, we like what you're doing, underserved markets, social impact, social justice, environmental justice. So, but they're also all about performance, right? I mean, I remember my first Skype call with Sister Corinne Floric, who's a guru in the investment world for the nuns, really, truly. And I could feel that ruler coming out of that screen, like slap. No, this is not the key performance indicator I'm asking about, you know. And it was amazing. It's been a journey since then. I mean, we have millions of dollars, about $3.5 million from the nuns, and they invest with soft terms, what they call patient capital. So it's relatively low. I mean, it's low cost capital, but it's also flexible. So it allows us some breathing room to grow. But we pay every single cent. I mean, we don't depend on grants. We have loan capital. So the nuns are a big part of it. Then we have bank CRA investments, very good partners, PNC Bank. We also had First Green Bank, and now we work very closely with Bank United in Florida. They get CRA credits and invest with us again in slightly better terms than you would any commercial bank. Then we have impact investors that are some organizations that have want to do socially responsible investments with some of their profits. So those are small investments, but they're very worthy. And then we have Kiva, and we've raised over $700,000 through Kiva. So Kiva is, peer-to-peer lending. And then we also have health systems. So this is really interesting and apropos to what we're living through, right? There's these nonprofit health systems, St. Joseph's, Bon Secours, Dignity Health. They're huge. They have hospitals, and they take a portion of their funds, profits, whatever. I'm not sure what exactly their bucket is, but they invest in these types of organizations, such as our CDFIs, to advance the common mission that we have, that is health through social and environmental justice. They also understand that healthy homes have a huge impact on people's lives. So what we're doing by helping people access energy efficient air conditioners that they can afford to run, but also not only benefit the environment, but it really benefits the health of people in homes. Leaky roofs cause mold and respiratory issues. So then we have health systems as well. And then of course we also have CDFI fund. Those are grant dollars, but they're earmarked for loan capital that help us keep the costs low. So we blend all that capital, we keep our costs low, and then we transfer that low cost to our clients.
It's interesting that you have so many sources, and especially the Kiva one, the crowdfunding. Yeah, so
yeah, we've raised about $18 million so far from these diverse sources. We've done $13 million in loans so far, which is a lot. And I want to say something that is I hope it sinks in with your audience. This notion that if you don't have a good credit score or good income, you're not credit worthy or you're super high risk, something that you should rethink, because we have done $13 million and our average default rate is 1.8%.
Well, I certainly agree with that. And it's been great learning more about the organization and talking with you. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to watch you all grow and hear more about what you do in the future. So thanks again, Dawn, for joining me today, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely stay in touch. I'll be following you on LinkedIn and all that. So thanks for all the great work you're doing as well.